Breaking news. Major changes are coming to the UK state pension that could affect millions, and not everyone is set to benefit equally. If you were born before a certain year, you could lose out on as much as £130 compared to others, all due to the way the Department for Work and Pensions, DWP, calculates pension increases. We're breaking it all down for you today. But before we dive into the details, make sure to subscribe to my channel for the latest updates on pensions, personal finance, and everything you need to know to stay ahead. Now, let's get straight into what's going on with the state pension, because this could impact your income or that of someone you love. Each year, the state pension is adjusted to keep up with rising costs of living, thanks to a policy known as the triple lock. If you're not familiar with it, the triple lock guarantees that the state pension will rise every April based on whichever is highest out of three figures: 2.5%, the rate of inflation, or average earnings growth. It was introduced back in 2010 under the coalition government, a joint effort between the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats to ensure pensioners wouldn't see their income fall behind working wages or inflation. Sounds fair, right? Well, here's where things get complicated and a little controversial. As it stands, there are two different state pension systems in place in the UK, the basic state pension and the new state pension. Which one you receive depends entirely on your date of birth. If you're a man born before 6 April 1951 or a woman born before 6 April 1953, you're on the old system, the basic state pension. Anyone born after those dates qualifies for the new state pension. Now here's the big issue and the heart of this breaking news. According to the most recent earnings growth data released by the Office for National Statistics, ONS, average earnings including bonuses rose by 4.7% in the 3 months leading up to July. And because this figure is likely to be higher than both inflation and the 2.5% baseline, that 4.7% could be the number used to calculate next year's pension rise. That means, starting April next year, pensioners can expect their payments to increase by 4.7%, a significant boost, especially during times of economic strain. But there's a catch, and it's a costly one. That 4.7% increase will apply to both the basic and the new state pension. However, because the new state pension starts at a higher base rate, a 4.7% increase on that amount results in a much larger cash boost compared to the older system. Let's break down the numbers. If you're on the new state pension, your weekly payment currently stands at £221.20, which totals around £11,502.40 annually. A 4.7% increase would boost this to approximately £12,534.60 per year, a rise of about £561. In contrast, the basic state pension is significantly lower, currently set at around £169.50 per week, or £8,814 annually. A 4.7% increase on that will add about £431 to your yearly income. That's a £130 difference, and that's where the concern lies. It means older pensioners, those who were born just a few years earlier, will receive significantly less in financial support, purely based on when they were born. Many people feel this gap is unfair, especially given that older retirees often have higher healthcare needs, greater dependency on fixed income, and in many cases, less access to private pensions. Critics of the current system argue that the two-tier structure creates a sort of age divide among pensioners, where one group continues to benefit from higher state support simply because of a shift in policy timing. The irony is hard to ignore: the older pensioners, who arguably need more support, are receiving less. This isn't just about statistics. It's about real people. Nearly 13 million people in the UK currently receive some form of state pension. For many, it's their only or primary source of income. A difference of £130 may not sound like much to some, but for those on tight budgets, especially during an ongoing cost of living crisis, every pound counts. So why hasn't this been addressed? Well, part of the reason is politics and policy lag. When the new state pension was introduced in 2016, it aimed to simplify the system and provide a more stable income for future retirees. But the government chose not to bring older pensioners into the new scheme, citing the complexity and cost of doing so. Over the years, campaigners have consistently called for a review of the system. They argue that all pensioners, regardless of when they were born, deserve a fair and equal state pension. However, the government has yet to make any major changes, possibly because correcting the gap would cost billions in public funds. Let's also not forget the broader debate about the sustainability of the triple lock itself. While it's undeniably generous, especially during periods of high wage growth or inflation, it comes with a hefty price tag. Every percentage point increase in pensions costs the government billions of pounds, money that must come from somewhere, usually the taxpayer. Some experts and policymakers have questioned whether the triple lock is still a viable long-term policy. They point out that while pensioners have seen consistent increases year after year, working age benefits have not kept pace. Others argue that dismantling the triple lock would disproportionately hurt older citizens, especially those who rely solely on the state for income. Rachel Vahey, head of public policy at AJ Bell, put it simply, pensioners will be rejoicing at the prospect of an inflation-busting rise to the state pension from April next year. She points to the fact that, assuming inflation doesn't exceed the 4.7% earnings figure in September, pensioners could see their incomes cross the £12,000 threshold for the first time ever. But even that milestone brings its own concerns. As pensions rise, more retirees could get perilously close to the frozen personal allowance, the income level at which people start paying income tax. Currently, the allowance is set at £12,570, and it's been frozen for several years, meaning that even small increases in pension payments could push more pensioners into the tax bracket, something that was once almost unheard of. Stephen Cameron, the pensions director at Aegon UK, echoed these concerns, saying, "Today's announcement of 4.7% earnings growth is the greatest indication yet of what pensioners may expect next April." All eyes now turn to September's inflation rate, which is due to be revealed on October 22 ND. That inflation figure will ultimately determine whether earnings growth remains the deciding factor in next year's triple lock calculation. If inflation comes in higher than 4.7%, then that becomes the number used, which could lead to an even higher increase than currently forecast. So what can you do if you're affected? Unfortunately, if you're on the basic state pension, there's no automatic upgrade to the new system. However, it's always worth checking whether you're receiving all the benefits you're entitled to. Many older pensioners are eligible for pension credit, which can top up your weekly income and even unlock other benefits like housing support or free TV licenses. If you're unsure about your entitlements, reach out to a pensions advisor or use the DWP's online tools. It only takes a few minutes, and it could mean hundreds of pounds more each year. To sum it up, the latest earnings figures strongly suggest that next year's state pension increase will be 4.7% unless inflation exceeds that number in September. While this is good news overall, older pensioners, specifically those born before April 1951 for men, or April 1953 for women, stand to lose out by around £130 simply because they fall under the older pension scheme. This growing disparity has raised fresh questions about fairness, equality, and the future of the triple lock policy. Whether any changes are coming remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure, this conversation is far from over. And that brings us to the end of today's update. If you found this information helpful, or if you think someone you know could be affected, share this video with them. The more people who understand what's going on, the better we can hold policymakers accountable. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for future updates on pensions, benefits, and everything related to your financial future. We'll continue to follow this story closely and bring you the facts you need to know. Until next time, take care, stay informed, and as always, thank you for watching.